like, again, things are going to happen, but I am very intentional with, of course, when I wake up, I'm already putting 3 things down that I'm grateful for. I'm saying affirmations again, to build into myself. And that was a part of like my self-healing journey that I started years ago, like writing daily affirmations, praying, spending one-on-one time with God, like having conversations, you know what I'm saying? And I also like to listen to like positive things. Okay. Like even down to like music. If I'm just getting ready or if I'm working out, going on a walk, like I'm listening to like positive, uplifting like podcasts, music, and things like that.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Walk with Drew podcast. My name is Drew Muzan. Today, like I always say for every single episode, we got a special guest. This time, we got my homegirl, B, a.k.a. Bianca, in the house. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. You just... She already ready. She's already positive, as you guys can see from...
You already know this is 24/7.
It's 24/7. As you guys can see, we have, by the title, we're talking about positivity today. Might be talking about positivity and patience, depending on how the conversation goes. She let me go that far. She's like, oh my gosh, no,
we can, whatever you want to talk about.
But first off, if you give tell my audience a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm B Patrice, Bianca, whatever you want to call me.
Stage name. My
yes.
fault. Not Bianca, my bad. It's B.
But a little bit about myself. These are so like, what do you say? Yeah. Because people immediately go to like what they do, of course. But number one, I'm a believer.
Right.
And so much more than that. But I am a speech language pathologist. I specialize in early intervention and helping parents build their capacity around child development. And what else? I'm a podcaster.
Podcaster new. We're going to get into that because she been
out
here tearing it up.
And that's about it.
Right. So, like I said, you guys can see from the title, we're just going to be talking about positivity. And, like, Bianca is one of the most, like, positive people I know, like, a radiant ray of, like, sunshine. Like, when you see her, just always, like... It's one of those people, like, she's one of those people, like, you can't never tell, like, if something's going on or not because she's just so positive. Like, stuff be going on, Drew, but I'm just so positive. I have a positive outlook. So I wanted to get her on the show to kind of just talk about that and inspire and encourage you all about that. So if you could kind of go into your journey with positivity, like, was it from birth, like, you always been this ray of sunshine, or, like, Drew, like, I had to work to get this way?
I would say it's a combination.
Okay.
So, as far as I can remember in the stories that like my family shares with me, I've always been this like positive person, always smiling. But I would say that's to like my father as well, because he always smiles. Like I remember stories that my grandparents would share, like when my dad was little too. Like he would just be walking around smiling, and that's the same for me. Just walking around smiling. But growing up, as things like have happened to me, people, situations, and people kind of like asking or making it a bad thing to be positive, if that makes sense.
Right.
That kind of took it away, and I would create a shell against myself and protecting myself in a sense, like, well, if y'all are annoyed by that or whatever, I'm not going to do it. But I would say within the past like few years, as I've been on this like self-healing journey myself, it's more so like, no, I'm going to own who I am and that light and walk in it. Yeah. So if you don't like it, you don't got to deal with me.
Yeah, I wanted to, like, because you kind of said like people kind of get annoyed by it, or like it's kind of like sticks out. Like, how did that make you feel? Like,
I would say like, okay, so number one, people always, like my friends especially, and my family, they'll constantly call me, especially if they need like someone just to listen to them or getting advice.
She a therapist, y'all.
Not that type of therapist, but
not yet.
Or even like giving advice. And of course, I'm always trying to help them see like different perspectives, because that's where you function at, where your perspective is on it. And of course, that can get on people's nerves when they want you to be frustrated with them. It's just like,
yeah,
I'm chilling over here.
A lot of
I'm
times,
good.
yeah,
So,
I get that. A lot of times people want you to go to that place with them. And I've learned the last couple of years, I'm like, it's not always healthy to go to that place like, oh, you're angry, so you want me to be angry with you about the situation. You could be upset, or you could be like mad that this happened for that person, but still remain a positive outlook, because somebody has to be on like a higher ground. Somebody has to do that. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think you had just said something that I wanted to hit on right there. But I think you should validate their feelings, of course. Like, those, you need to own how you feel on a situation. But again, if you're looking at it being bad, that is what is going to manifest. That is what's going to continue to happen. And that's where you're going to stay. But if you're having a more positive outlook on it and thinking like, okay, this storm or this situation is happening right now, but that doesn't mean I'm always going to be in this place.
Yeah, so that's good. So along with that, I wanted to talk about empowering as well. So along with having the positive attitude, I've also, like your podcast is titled Be Empowered. Have you always been, like you were just saying, people will always come to you for advice and stuff like that? Have you always had that empowering type of feel, or did that grow and blossom as well?
I would say,
like, we're just letting people be them, and then all of a sudden, like, I'm gonna start empowering you. Like, how did that happen?
No, I think I've always had that in me. I would say since like college. I will always like write. I've never been big on social media. Like, really? As far as, yes, like I'll get on there and I'll, like people's stuff, comment on things, but I would never like write a whole bunch of statuses or post a bunch of pictures or post a ton of videos. I've just never been that way. But however, throughout college, I would start like writing statuses just to encourage people. It wasn't even just to encourage them. It was like me encouraging myself as well too. Yeah. So you know how like now you'll get like the memories that will pop back up, and I appreciate them because I'm like, dude, I really was doing this like 7 years ago, like 12 years ago. And it wasn't even me like seeing it then. Right. So, yeah, I think it's always been there. I may have been at times running from it because, again, if you are in a place where you're not truly healed or you're hurting yourself, yeah, you have to be mindful of how you're trying to help and encourage others too. So
a lot of times we're gonna talk about this running away stuff real quick. Yeah, a lot of times people run away from like their gifts, or like you were saying, hindsight's 20/20. So I know for myself, a lot of times I see like back in the day, I'm like, oh, I've been talking about this stuff. I've been talking about television and all stuff like that. But a lot of times hindsight is 20/20, and you kind of running like. Did you ever have? Were you running away from your calling? Were you running away from your gift with this?
Yes. Yes, I will totally admit that. I'm like, Lord,
But why were you running away though?
Way too much. Like
the pressure to be good, or
that because of having other people's perceptions of what I should be doing as well, and not me having a full vision, like of where I'm going. Right. Like I was just, listen, I used to be a hot mess. Hot mess. And it's also being mindful, like who you're around too. I think we bond with people based off of the spaces that we are in, and when we are in hurt places, that's how we bond. You're already getting
into one of my questions, because I was going to talk about like how did community kind of like affect, or has it, or how? Yeah, can you talk to one side? So if we can talk to how does community affect positive outlook, and then you, from a personal standpoint, how does community affect your outlook?
It impacts it a lot. Because I think I've recently just been like going through this too, these past couple of years of like friendships that I've had where again, bonded with them off of trauma.
Right.
Our similar situations, like, oh, hey girl, like, how you doing? Or whoever.
Right.
And you just went through a bad breakup. Me too. Let's go out. And now we're out partying and going through similar experiences, but neither one of us are helping or building each other
like you
up
said,
at
bonded
this
off
point.
of trauma, because that's common.
Yeah, it is. And then it comes to a point where it's like when you are going through that self-healing journey and you're wanting more and you're letting go of your past, you're not letting that have such a impact on your future. And then here's your old friends over here constantly trying to remind you of your old self. They don't even see where you are going because they don't know where they're going.
Right.
So it's like, dang, I love you, but I truly have to love you from afar. And that is, for me, that is truly hard.
Why is it hard for you?
Because I just like feel other people's emotions too. Like I feel it, and being in places where I was hurt or I felt alone, I never want anyone to feel that way as well.
Right.
But I've also had to like start taking ownership. I'm not responsible for their happiness.
Go ahead, teach. Go ahead.
So,
go ahead. Yeah, dig into that. Yeah, because I resonate with that a lot too. Because I think even Kana was talking about that this morning, talking about like you can't like how can I say it? If you're going through one season and they're going through this, like you can't be responsible for somebody else's happiness. So you can't be responsible for like I'm going through this. This is what God is taking me through right now. If you don't want to come along, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is.
Hey sis, I'm gonna be over here.
Right.
I love you, but when you're ready, again, I'm gonna be over there. Like if you want to stay in this place over here, you gotta do that on your own because I'm tired of sinking.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go. So
do you have kind of like a like, if you could, kind of like a story or just kind of like with that, like when you were transitioning into being this positive, empowering person and giving that off to others, and then all of a sudden, like the circle where you once was at, it was affecting your positivity.
So you're saying like owning it when I started owning that?
Yeah, when you started owning it.
I would say that's been in the last couple of years. Okay. I would say 2019 was a wake-up call for me. Like, I remember one morning, I woke up, I looked in the mirror, and I was like, I don't know who this person is. I didn't like anything about myself. Like, it was literally just walking around doing life, like you said earlier, like just walking around smiling.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what's going on. People are still calling me, asking for advice. And at the same time, I'm over here empowering them. Yeah. I can't even take my own advice, and also around that time, I had a yo-yo relationship with God. Like because of like things that were going on in my life, like health reasons, relationship things, family things. I'm just like, God, why is all this happening? Like, why would you let this happen to me? Like, I'm a good person. That, everybody goes through things.
Right.
So 2019, I literally was like, no, I got to get my life together. Right. For real. Yeah. Again, my health was impacted severely where I didn't realize how much like it was taking a toll on my mental health and my emotional health. And I was told things that, you'll never have kids by a human, right?
Yeah. And
that, as everyone knows, I love children. Like,
Yeah, she's like
a baby whisperer.
Chopped, yes. She's a children. Yeah, yes. When I tell you at our church, everybody, all these kids just flock to her. I'm like, you should just be sitting over there and just come over and talk to her. I'm like, it's an anointing. I don't got it. I don't got it. Kids, unless it's my kids, unless it's my God kids. I don't got no kids right now. But unless it's my God kids, I don't touch nobody's kids. I don't.
Right. So that took a really big toll on me for years. Right. So again, I'm out doing whatever. But then I just had a wake up call and it's just like, no, you can't let anyone have that much power in your story and in your life. Yeah. They're not your creator.
Right.
So after that, I was becoming more intentional, started researching again, started asking God, like, what is it that I need to do? And God, what is on me that was never supposed to be here in the first place? And when I tell you that literally everything changed. Everything started to change when I say them attacks were real to try to see like, oh, how are you going to act now? Yes. But again, my health got better. I reversed it all on my own and went to a new specialist and was like, no, there's nothing here. And how can anyone tell you that? Yeah. You know? So just having that revelation. And then I started this sister circle here in Charlotte. Right. Of course, I just started off with my friends and they invited some friends as well. And it was called Do You Sis? Because I love
that sis word. Yeah. My good sis. Do you sis? I'm like, hey
it's
sis.
So
I'm
empowering. Like, yes, like sis, we're here. We're one with each other.
I love that. It's a community for y'all. It's a community of sisters out there. Okay.
So I used to have a blog that started like a few years ago called Do You Sis? And of course, I had got to a point like I can't even write anymore. However, I just was like, okay, let me just turn this into a sister community because people, again, women were coming to me and they were all having like similar issues of feeling alone, going through similar health issues or whatever the case may be, being in a city or not feeling like they had a good support system. So I was just like, you know what, let's come together. And it was actually like, it worked. I was like, oh my gosh, God, this is all you. Because if you know women trying to bring a group of women together and actually open up and bond, but like in a true healing space, it was amazing. I was like, okay, you working. So then from there, COVID happened. So of course.
Yeah, everything changed for everybody.
It shook some things up.
Yeah.
And of course, people in my life now were motivating me to start this podcast. And here I am.
I was one of them.
Yes.
I was one of them. I was like, yeah, I've been on her for like
heavy.
How long? Like at least 6 months. At least.
Yeah.
Ever since you started coming. Ever since you started coming. Yeah. Ever since you started coming already. Yeah. At least 6-7 months I've been on.
Yes. And it was so wild. Like you said something, Kristen said something, Chris said something, and my god sister who lives in Fayetteville, we never even talked about it. She literally texted me one morning and was like, you need to download this app and start your podcast today. And I was like, if y'all don't get out
you was in the fire. Yeah, we was putting you in the fire. Like, yes.
But I'm so appreciative. Like, God will place people in your life at the right time. Right. So
yeah,
I'm thankful.
So along with that, like you were talking about kicking people out of your like circle that were like negative to it. Can you talk about, was there like a boundaries, like you had to start setting boundaries to protect your positivity?
Yes.
She resonated with that.
And I'm still learning how to set boundaries. Boundaries
is an everyday thing,
because again, people pleasing, like a former people pleaser, a former person that was seeking outside validation, and being mindful of like, who are you sharing things with and who's talking you down or out of it? Like, I literally had people like, you can't do that. Like, why would you bring women together? Like,
haters,
are constantly trying to remind me like, how you gonna do this? But you were just out partying.
That's
you
what I don't
talking
like.
about like that doesn't even matter. First of all, none of that
none
matters.
None of your business.
It doesn't even matter. You know
what's
what I'm
that?
saying?
What's that meme? What's that gift? Like, oh, you in my business. Don't do that.
Exactly. Listen,
you in my business.
I literally say, mind your business at least 10 times a day.
Yeah, it's definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times people try to confuse playing devil's advocate with like hating or trying to provide a different perspective. I'm like, there's a way to provide devil's advocate or to provide a different perspective without actually like talking me down off of, especially if you see it in me, like you must not have been seeing it in me like everybody else has.
Exactly. And that's where I started to reevaluate friendships. And also, we often think about our purpose partner as like a romantic partner, right? But friendships are purpose partners as well.
You teaching.
Like, we should all be sailing in the same direction. Right. Like, just like you see something in me, I see something in you. And we should be building each other up.
Right, most definitely.
I'm pouring into you, you're pouring into me.
Right.
So
what I wanted to also get into Let me find it. Yeah. So how do you stay encouraged like every single day? Like what are something you can give the listeners like? But like, what are some things you do to try to stay encouraged every single day, stay positive every single day?
So one, I'm very intentional with how I start my morning.
Okay.
You know, like again, things are going to happen, but I am very intentional with. Of course, when I wake up, I'm already putting 3 things down that I'm grateful for. I'm saying affirmations again to build into myself. And that was a part of like my self-healing journey that I started years ago, like writing daily affirmations, praying, spending one-on-one time with God, like having conversations, you know what I'm saying? And I also like to listen to like positive things.
Okay.
Like even down to like music. If I'm just getting ready or if I'm working out, going on a walk, like I'm listening to like positive, uplifting like podcasts, music and things like that.
Okay. So could you kind of also talk about how your faith has impacted you being positive and empowering? Like how does your faith come into play with this?
I think again, when we were talking about like our outlook on life and I'm a very optimistic person.
Right. It's because of
I think again, during this journey, when I started having a better understanding in how I view God, like who is God. And, you know, we often used to think like, oh my gosh, God gonna come and get me because I was at the club last night or because I got drunk.
Are you gonna preach on that? Because can I
Go ahead.
There's no condemnation if you go to the clubs wasn't back in the day, so like you don't see it in the Bible. Like there's no condemnation. You go to the club, that's your business.
Exactly,
that's your business, and it's not something wrong. Like people, a lot of times with Christianity, that's just because of religion. We get so heaped up on like, oh, you went to the club, or how you go to the club and you go to church. And like one, people have a negative connotation of the club, and I think it's because of the church. But like, can I go out and have a good time? Like,
can I hang out with like people I know, or just mingle? Like, there's things people try to make things so bad, but there's also good in so many things. It's like where your heart is at, essentially. Right. Yeah. What are your intentions? Right. Check yourself. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's important, like you said, check yourself. Like it's your, like a lot of times people try to pass, like the Holy Spirit might tell you not to go to the bar or whatever, but he might not tell me that because I like to go out. I'm not. See, one thing with this whole Christian thing, man, these jokes like to have game nights and they just like to chill inside and play Uno and have worship music on and just chill on a Saturday night. I didn't come from that. I came from going out to the club and going out to the bar and having a few drinks and chilling. And when I first got into the faith, that's one thing that I gave up because I'm like, oh nah, you shouldn't be there. Now for some people, they can't handle the temptation, or they can't have, that's just not, that season's over for them. But for other people, you can't look at until a believer, oh, you shouldn't be going there. I'm like, why?
It doesn't do anything. Yeah. It may not impact them as it did you.
Right. That's another thing. And then people try to pass that off and pass off everybody with the same restrictions. And I'm like, bro, like I can have a drink.
Exactly.
I have a couple drinks.
And I know how to control myself and still make sound decisions.
Right. And still go to church next morning. That's for somebody. And still go to church next morning. But
exactly.
That's just me, like I said. So,
what was your question again?
So it was about where was it at? So how has your faith impacted your positivity?
Oh yeah. So again, my view and my relationship with God, and instead of being fearful, it was just like, no, God, you are an amazing God. You're a good God. You're a gentle God, and you're so forgiving because you forgave me in all of my wrongs, like and my past, and that has helped me with like having a more optimistic view, like every single day. And knowing, again, like I said, storms are inevitable. We're going to go through them, but we're also going to get out of them because God created us. He wants good for all of us. We, again, just have to receive that and lean and know that, listen, I'm not always going to be in this position. Like, it's okay. Just be present. Do what you gotta do.
And you going into another question too, because I was gonna say like, you're kind of speaking to it. But I was gonna ask like, why do you feel like positivity is necessary? And you're speaking to know that storms are inevitable. Know that things are gonna happen to remain positive. So if you had to kind of encourage somebody out there to be positive, or to start being more positive in their everyday life, what would you say?
Again, I would say check yourself. And also start this is one thing that I used to do is like when I started going down like a negative road, I start thinking back, like, why am I in this space right now? Why am I thinking that? What provoked this?
Self-awareness. Okay.
You know, that's key. And then, okay, what's the opposite of this?
Right.
What's on the other side of this? You know, oftentimes listen, I used to create so many scenarios up in my head.
I'm an overthinker, so yeah, you speaking to me.
Overthinking. Yeah. Listen, I could make the worst scenarios up about something.
And you're not even thinking about it.
And then you get through it and you're like, none of that just happened. Why did I even do that to myself?
Right.
You know? So it's just easier to just, again, check yourself, have self-awareness. Mm-hmm. How are you contributing to that situation? What is your part? And how can I just move forward from this?
Right. So I wanted to get into your podcast. So you just say, I'm a podcaster. She announced that we've been trying to get her into that for a good minute.
But that's the first time I said that for real.
She's like, I'm a podcaster, so I had to pick up myself.
Now.
Yeah, you legit. You too legit to quit. She out there now. But talk about she has a podcast called Be Empowered. It's on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, right? Mm-hmm. And could you talk about your like why you started it and like what's the goal of it?
Because I think it is, one, disrespectful to yourself and to God when you have this gift and wisdom placed inside of you and just sitting on it.
Right.
It is. You're not helping anyone. So again, if it is going to help at least one person, why not?
Yeah.
A funny story is I didn't tell anyone, of course, that I was going to start it. I just dropped the episode. I just woke up this morning.
I was like, yes. I was the first one to shot straight at the thing. I was like, yes.
You were. I was like, you know what? Nah, I'm not overthinking this anymore. I'm dropping this, right? Didn't tell anyone. I didn't even tell my own mom. So I get a call after church, and it was from my aunt. Mm-hmm. And she was like, I'm not going to say what they call me on here, so...
On TV. Yep,
I was going to say on TV. You know what? It's coming.
On TV.
It's coming.
Speak it. On TV. There you go.
TV.
Amen. You already said it. He was trying to get it out. Yep. Mm-hmm. On TV. Mm-hmm.
But my aunt called me, and she was like, hey... And I was like, hey. And she was like, you know, I was on Facebook this morning, and I clicked on this link, and I'm hearing this, like, very positive, like, motivational message. And then I realized, that's my niece. And she just was like, I didn't even know you had that like in you or whatever. But also her sharing her testimony from what she got out of that and how that helped her in a situation that I was not even aware of. Yeah. It was just like, yeah, that's why I'm doing this.
Yeah, you never know when people are going through. That always those are the little things that kind of help you up the road. Like, okay, I got that. And then you'll find as you continue to create content, you'll start to see more people give you another testimony or another, oh, this affected me this way, and they'll help you a little bit more up the road.
Yeah, and it's just like good to know and to help people know that you're not alone.
Right.
You're not the only one that goes through X, Y, and Z.
Right.
You know, it's plenty of us out here.
Right.
So
yeah, but I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for getting on there. So like, what are the goals with the Be Empowered podcast?
The goals.
We're gonna get it to 30-minute episodes. That's the next thing.
Yes.
And the interviews
getting
and 30-minute
longer
episodes.
content. Wanting to start featuring people, of course. What else? I want to get into possibly doing like motivational speaking, like events, and helping other people, other women, or even men, if y'all want to. I mean, whatever.
Nah, y'all like to see the women's ministry. No,
because men have been getting at me about this not being inclusive, and
yeah, I try to tell, but it's like certain people, it's just like. I understand it. The reason why, because like when black women need somebody to speak to them, and I get it. You're not for everybody's content's not going to be for everybody, you know. But for the ones that's really trying to go out there and get that coin, you know what I'm saying, you might have to make it a little bit more exclusive, like less exclusive, or whatever. But if you're starting to like, if that's what God is telling you, just do what God is telling you.
Right. Of course, I have messages for everyone, but again, my target is women, all women. Okay. But I want to start doing like motivational speaking events and helping women start sister circles, because that was something when I did launch like Do You Sis, I did not expect that response. And I had so many women like hit me up like, how did you start this? Like, I want to do this where I live.
So you need to holler at me. You're trying to make some coins off of that template. You need to make a template, make some coins off that.
I got you. We'll talk about this.
Because you can make some coins off that.
So yeah, that's just some of the goals that I have right now for it.
Word. So along with that, so being a positive person, being empowering, I would have to think you would have some people on that way that you look to be, that are that positive person in your life. So if you could name 3 women or just 3 people in general, who are people you look up to in that realm of positivity and empowerment.
So looking up to, I was number one, say, my great grandmother. She's no longer here. But I had, the privilege to grow up with her, and most people don't get to be raised by their great grandparents.
Right. Oh yeah. I don't even know my great grandparents.
Yeah. And, Clarissa Thomas was a beautiful woman, let me tell you. But ever since I was young, I still remember conversations I had with her at a very early age where she was just pouring into me as much as possible. Like just telling me like, you have so much in you, don't let anyone stop you at all. So she's number one. Number 2, I would have to say my Aunt Clara. Like, we've recently, within the past, 5 years, I would say we've grown tremendously in our relationship, and she's always encouraging. Like, she beats me to sending encouraging text messages, literally so blessed. And who else? I had a mentor at one point, and she will stay with me forever. Her name was Lavette, at a previous church that I attended, and even though it was for a short season, she saw things in me, especially around this women's stuff. Because I was like, huh? You want me to do what?
That's how she acted when I was trying to come. I'm like, what? Huh? Don't rush me.
No, for real. But she was literally one of the first people to tell me, no, you have a calling over your life, and it's women. And coming from someone who, growing up, I didn't have a lot of women or girlfriend friendships.
So you hung around the guys?
Yes, because I also have 3 brothers.
Really?
Yes.
I don't see that. Okay, so that's what's really shit. I don't see hanging out with a lot of guys, which I see
now I don't. It's so wild. Yeah. But growing up, I did hang out. It was easier for me to connect with guys. And again, growing up, there's jealousies or people not looking at you a certain type of way because you look like this or whatever the case may be. But I didn't have a lot of women friendships. I had a few, and they are still my friends to this day. Right. But when she told me that, I said, "Girl, you want me to do what?"
Why everybody always so shocked with you seen it? You just why are you calling me out right now? God,
no, I knew I was a positive person. I help people. I already knew that. Yeah. But to lead a team of women that I just joined this, and it just happened so fast, I was taken aback. But she just encouraged me as much as possible. And it's just that and her attitude towards leadership as well. She is definitely the most positive person I've ever seen in my life. Energy on 100. And you would never know she was going through something because of her outlook.
That's how I see it with you, yeah.
Her outlook on life. Hey, listen, I don't have no gas in my car, but I still got here by the grace of God, so...
That takes work. I want to get to that place, but I know that place takes work. I think I'm not at that place where I'm sitting. I don't sit in stuff too long, but still that every single day, because that's one thing why I never saw myself as a you don't never see no motivational content from me. Not because I'm not a I motivate people just in a different way with creativity, or I see your gift in you. I do that, but I'm I always found it difficult, at least for me. I'm people do motivational Mondays, or they do a motivational thing every single day. I'm bro, what?
Where did this come from?
I can stub my toe, and I'm bro, I don't feel like talking today, bro.
No, and it's even little things like that. This week, after vacation, you're all over the place. And it was very hard for me to get back into work mode. I will say that. And some things happened, getting back into work. It was rough. And my morning was starting off forget this and this job at one point. And I was like, nope. Check yourself, Bianca. Like, I instantly was just like, no. What was your part in this?
Right.
You didn't do X, Y, and Z. Yes, there's a lack of communication there.
Right.
But now, what can you do differently right now? And just move forward from it. Like, this is not going to determine the rest of your day. And literally, I'm telling you, the rest of my day was better. That was the only thing. And it's like, why let one little small offense control everything else? And so often I think that we let our past and the things that have happened to us or when people do things to us, again, we let that control our present and our future. We start making decisions out of that, and we're missing the good moments and the people that are for us.
Right.
So then it's like, well, no wonder you're not getting X, Y, and Z. You haven't let go of Bob or whoever.
Bob.
You know, like, let that go. Don't let someone have that much control, or don't let that past trauma or hurt or whatever have that much control on the now.
Right. Yeah, it's just something, like I said, I'm still getting there, but I'm like, that whole, like, motivation, that's the only thing that always turned me off. I'm like, why don't you, because I'm like, I had a mentor that was kind of that, like a motivational speaker type thing, so he was always, I'm like, I don't got it. Like, if I don't got it, I don't got it. And I've owned that, because I'm like, that's not my lane. Like, you can still be motivational, and it doesn't have to be every single day, or it could be in a different lens and stuff like that.
Exactly. Like, you encouraged me to, do this whole podcast stuff. So
we still getting there. It says a book too. She ain't mentioned a book, but it's okay.
Oh my God. Listen, people have been pushing me to do a book, no lie, since like, what year was I in grad school? Like 2013, 2014. I'm like, you want me to sit and write what? No, we're
gonna talk about it though. It's there though. But lastly too, so I seen this symbolism from you. But a lot of times, if you follow Bianca on social media, she posts sunflower and she posts like a yellow heart. Two things I notice all the time. So could you talk about why, like, how do you connect with the color yellow, and how do you connect with sunflowers?
Because yellow is just so bright and it's so vibrant, like myself.
This is why she on the podcast. This is why
yellow and bright. So I just love the color yellow. It's just light. So that's why I like yellow. Sunflowers. So sunflowers are my favorite flower.
Okay.
And sunflowers turn in towards the direction of the light.
Okay. Kenny gonna watch us to get a reflection.
So again, as a believer too, turning towards the light, the sun.
Yeah.
And it's just, whenever you look at sunflowers, most people do smile. I'm sorry, they really do. Like, you just instantly get happy. So, again, that's why. Okay. I just post it, and I think it makes everything look better.
I give you that, because I noticed little stuff, and I was just like, why she all, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, it's Kristen with the yellow color orange, and she yellow. I'm like, people connect, like, you never see, like, you gotta pay attention to stuff like that, because people, it's like it either there's a life story with that, or there's just some type of resemblance. I remember I did an interview when I first started doing interviews, like 2017, like hip hop, or 2016, like hip hop. There's a R&B singer, I don't remember the guy's name anymore, but he connected with strawberries. And he had like strawberries like in his logo, or strawberries like in his name, like on the emoji beside his name. And it was some story he was telling me about strawberries and little seeds. I mean, it's something he connected with the strawberry.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, strawberry, like, I don't see it, but when he explained it to me, I was like, oh wow.
It's amazing how people can literally take things and go way beyond the surface, like go underneath it, for real.
And that's what it was. I'm just like, bro, strawberry, but okay.
Yeah, sunflower. And also, again, like I shared about my great grandmother, like that, it reminds me of her too, because again, she was my first introduction to who God was.
Okay.
And my parents too. My parents are just positive people. Right. Like, even my mom, she is number one, the person I can call if I'm like panicking. She was like, Bianca, breathe.
That's number one.
Now, what are you tripping on? Like, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, my grandmother, she was that light as well. So that was another thing. After she passed, I think it was like I don't know if I had drove by some sunflowers because I hadn't always loved flowers actually because I'm like, dude, them things die.
And they provide gnats. That's why I don't like plants like that. But that's what
right. But I think I like rode by like sunflowers or something after she passed, and I was just like, yeah, that's just beautiful, just like her. So again, that's another reason why I love them.
So 2021, we're in a new year. Can you talk about just some goals that you have for yourself, for your content, or things that people should look out for?
2021.
She like, Drew, I just did a podcast. I just want to do my podcast a little bit more.
Of course, growing into my podcast,
right?
And turning that into a YouTube channel. Actually, just turning Be Empowered into a brand all around. So there's going to be some things from it.
Where the money reside. I
have some ideas. Don't want to.
Okay, you don't want to.
I'm still, waiting on it. But yeah, I have some ideas. But just again, growing within Be Empowered, growing within myself, continuing to learn how to encourage others as well in many different ways. Right. Being present in that too, and seeing when people do need me, because we can often get so lost within ourselves that we're not realizing that, hey,
right,
I need you to reach out to this. So, just growing within that and making it a brand. That's about it.
Now, if you want people to follow you on Instagram, I don't know if you want people to follow you on Instagram.
You can, because, it's public anyways. Just don't be out here creating fake accounts on me. I'm sick of it. But it's b.patrice on Instagram. It is. So I had to change it because somebody took the underscore, and I'm like, oh, it looks cuter with the underscore, but it's just B period. Okay.
Patrice. She put the emphasis on the period.
B Patrice. Right. And then on Facebook is B Patrice. And on Twitter is is B.
Ooh, how do you spell it?
Like, just 3 O's.
3 O's.
It's B.
B. Okay.
So you can get daily affirmations and inspiration on Twitter every morning.
And then what about the podcast? What's the name of the podcast and where people can go listen to it?
Be Empowered. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and Spotify.
Okay, perfect. Well, this has been another episode of Walk with Drew. My name is Drew Muzan. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, get this episode out to all your friends, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is Bianca. This is Drew. Next time, peace.